Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lambcast. I'm your host, Richard Kirkham, and this is episode 753. Another month has gone by, and we needed a new film for the Movie of the Month series. Bubbling fever for a neglected pop confection from 2 decades ago has finally reached the surface, and Josie and the Pussycats has made the grade. Due to mismarketing, Josie and the Pussycat reactions from critics and audiences were confused. Who is it meant for? Is this supposed to be a straightforward teen comedy or a satire? We have a cohort of lambs here to answer that question for you. Bubbawheat doesn't understand why he's here, but it's because he was in the comic book. Is it time to rewind back to 1970 in the animated series? No, just the movie. Welcome, Bubbawheat.
Dessert means podcasting.
Next, my favorite trend pimp from Cinema Recall, the Vern.
I'm here because I was in the comic book.
De jure means teamwork, and bringing us all together is the best lamb ever. Todd Liebenow from the Forgotten Filmcast.
I want a Big Mac.
Hey, as champion of the film, Todd gets to host the discussion. So, Todd, as the new Matt Damon, the show is yours.
Matt Damon. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, and thanks to everybody that voted. I feel a little guilty because I feel like Vern did more to push this over the edge than I did, so I appreciate that. But
no worries at all. Happy to help.
But yeah, I think I've tried this movie a couple times before, and I'm glad that it finally made the cut here for Movie of the Month. It's one that I definitely didn't see it when it came out in theaters because I was very rarely getting to theaters then, but saw it when it hit video and was like, why did I miss this movie? I think this is fun, but we will see when we get to everybody here. So yeah, Josie and the Pussycats from 2001 is what we're talking about here. Of course, based on the characters that first appeared in Archie comics back in, I think, starting in 1963. And then they became the subject of an animated Saturday morning TV series that Hanna-Barbera produced in 1971. So, yeah, I mean, before we get to the movie, I guess, anybody have background with either the comics or the animated show for these characters?
I knew of the animated show, but I didn't really watch much of it. It was one of those things that just kind of came on and just kind of went. I had no idea that they were really attached to Archie. They were just always its own thing. Plus, in the cartoon series, one of the characters, I think it's the producer or their manager, is the voice of Shady in Scooby-Doo. So whenever I watched the cartoon series, it just felt like a different version of Scooby-Doo because this band is going to all these exotic locations and they're solving a mystery of some sorts. And then a song has to play. And there's always a song in Scooby-Doo and there's a song in Josie and the Pussycats. So it felt like more of a side project of Scooby-Doo than Archie. So I remember that.
You're absolutely right with that, Vern. In fact, I think if you dig on the history of the animated TV series, that it was also a Hanna-Barbera production, which is unusual considering that the Archie TV series were a different animation studio. But I think very much the plan with that was, well, Scooby-Doo was a hit. We're just going to do Scooby-Doo, but they're in a band. It was the basic concept. Yeah, Richard or Bubbawheat, any memories of the older versions of this?
Well, I remember watching it in 1970 when I was, 12. And I have no memory of it whatsoever, except that I did vaguely remember it seemed like it was more a Scooby-Doo type show, like we talked about, like Vern mentioned, that it was, why they were involved in mysteries, I don't know. I was expecting more like the Beatles cartoon. We're going to have fans chasing the band around, and they'd get in some kind of mix-up, and then they'd play a song or two. But like I said, my memory of it is so fuzzy that it's ridiculous.
There was a trend of animated shows that had a music element or involved a band. You mentioned the Beatles one. There was a Jackson 5 animated series, I remember. And then a lot of these characters did have, it's like you had the animated characters doing their thing, but then they also had a band on the side. So, like, I remember like
Jabberjaw. I think
Jabberjaw was what they came to. Yeah, they had a band. And there was an animated version of the Brady Bunch kids, and they, of course, had a band, a music element. I think there was an animated Partridge Family too. So yeah, it was definitely a trend of the late '60s, early '70s.
There was a Band of Superheroes cartoon as well, and I can't remember. That was late '60s, and I can't remember all the powers that the superheroes had. One of them could multiply and have multiple reproductions of himself.
Was that the Impossibles?
It might be.
Yes, I think you're right.
And they had a band.
Yeah, the Groovy Ghoulies too. I remember that. It was like Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman, and they had a band. Anyway, Bubbawheat, I didn't mean to cut you off. What are your memories of this?
Yeah, I don't think I ever watched the show itself. I just watched, the other like spin-offs, or not spin-offs, but the other copycats like Jabberjaw, and I think Dune Buggy was another one, and of course, Scooby-Doo, which wasn't a copycat, it was the original. But I do kind of remember just them being part of the Hanna-Barbera nostalgia that was in the early days of Cartoon Network. And I like, the big thing that I remember is they had like one of the bumpers that was Josie and the Pussycats, and it started out with them singing the theme song, and then it would like transition into different decade genres of music. Like it would go into disco, and then the 80s and 90s, and then I think probably like 2000s music, because I think it aired around the 2000s when that bumper was. And I just kind of remembered it being part of the overall Hanna-Barbera landscape more than anything else. And that was like a big part of early Cartoon Network days, which I watched a lot of whenever it first appeared.
Mm-hmm. I definitely have memories of the animated series. I have the set that Warner Archive put out a few years ago. I would have been too young to see it when it first ran, because this debuted in 71 and I was born in 71, so I would have seen it in reruns. And I think there's only actually like 2 seasons of the show, and I think technically the second season is a slight reimagination, or it's a different series altogether, which is actually Josie and the Pussycats in outer space. So if they ever do a sequel to the movie someday, maybe we'll get that. They did it before.
Although a lot of times back then, those are like syndicated seasons. So even though it has one season, there's like 50 episodes or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and Todd, when the directors were given the project of Josie and the Pussycats, Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elefant, that was their original premise. It was going to be Josie and the Pussycats in space.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
A giant space opera, and I'm glad they didn't do that.
I'm surprised they got away with the premise that they did, to be honest with you, which we'll get to in a minute here. But yeah, as Vern said, so directed by Harry Elefant and Deborah Kaplan. They're 2 folks primarily known for writing movies, but they got a chance to direct a movie that turned out to be a pretty decent success when it comes to teen movies in the 1990s, and that was Can't Hardly Wait. And so I know that, to folks that were teenagers during that decade, that's an important movie. And so then after that, they were like, okay, well, let's give them a property to work with here. And that led to Josie and the Pussycats. This film, it came out in April of 2001, and it was not a success. It made just shy of $15 million on a budget that is estimated as anywhere between $22 and $39 million. So it didn't do well then. But in the 23 years that have passed, it has earned a bit of a cult following for sure. I think that, in my opinion, this is a movie that was a bit ahead of its time, and people just didn't get it back then.
Yeah, well,
but
it wasn't marketed that well.
That is true.
Yeah, I was like, one thing in the Wikipedia, it mentions that it was marketed towards like preteen girls, but it was made for adults because it's more of a satire, and so like the preteen girls didn't get it, and the adults who would have gotten it wasn't marketed towards them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I think the more logical audience is the adults and the folks that were maybe having the nostalgia. I mean, we can all call ourselves old. We're all in that bracket there, and we were old enough in 2001. And so, yeah. But, as we kind of hinted at, though, they kind of didn't really do the premise of the TV series. It's not them out there solving a mystery or going to different places or outer space or whatever.
I mean, they do kind of solve a mystery.
Yeah. I guess they do. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of taking a different angle here. But we'll just start here with kind of background with the movie and general thoughts. And let's actually, I'll throw it to Bubbawheat first. He's our resident expert on comic characters on the big screen. So I'll let Bubbawheat go first.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember if I watched this for the first time for my blog or not, but I definitely watched it for the blog, which would have been, around 2012, 2013, sometime in the first couple of years of doing that. And I immediately fell in love with it. I thought it was hilarious. I love Seth Green. Du jour was fantastic. It was a perfect send-up of all of the boy bands of the early 2000s, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Backstreet Boys. I thought their song Backdoor Lover is the funniest thing. Because it's like they play it so straight, and especially that opening with all the screaming fans and like the one fan that's just crying, and then you have the one single guy who makes a point where he I think it's great too, because it's just like the littlest bit of gay panic where he makes sure to say love them, I love the band like brothers.
Yeah.
But I loved all the meta humor. I mean, it's just so fun, like all the fourth wall breaks throughout it, and I think they play off the dumb humor of Melody so great, because I think dumb characters can be hit and miss for me, but I think because she has all the positivity, and I think she just really nails the character, and it is great with just all the optimism and just flightiness, and
it is the best role that Tara Reid has ever played. The best role she's ever played.
Yeah, and the whole stuff with like behind the music, and Missy Pye, or not. I mean, she's fine, but Parker Posey is fantastic. Like Fiona is so great, and just the reveal of what her ultimate plot is at the end is a little silly, but in the best way. And it's watching. I'm so glad that this one. Like I was able to. I had to find my DVD of it, but I watched it again, and it's just so great. I enjoyed having the chance to watch this again.
Me too. Absolutely.
Go ahead. The chemistry with the cast is all great. The scenes with Ellen Cumming and Parker Posey are just fantastic. Really great stuff. They're kind of hamming it up, but in a fun way. And then our three lead girls are just great. Rachel Lee Cook, Rosario Dawson, Tara Reid. They actually went to like band camp together to learn how to play their instruments. And even though they're not actually playing on the track, they are doing the actual fingering for their instruments. I mean, Tara Reid took drum lessons, and that's actually her, doing the drums. I mean, she's not actually playing live on the track, but when you watch it, that's her actually playing the drums for the song. There's a behind-the-scenes
Vern, you're a drummer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it passes the test of an actual drummer here, huh?
I mean, there was like even behind the scenes footage of Rachel Lee Cook playing three small words on the guitar, and she knows how to play the notes on the guitar. She actually learned to do that. So many times I heard people saying that, oh, this movie's fake. They're not actually playing their instruments. I mean, no, they are. They're actually doing the picking and the fingering. They're just not plugged in live is all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as you're starting there, Vern, what are your other general thoughts on the film?
This is a movie that my friends and I have watched many, many times. We definitely have enjoyed Du Jour and all the stuff there with Seth Green and Donald Faison and Bretton Meyer. Many of that band was also in their Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan's previous film, Can't Hardly Wait, as a band in that, and it was great to see them in this. And
Bretton Meyer, by the way, we should say Mr. Deborah Kaplan. The two hooked up. So
I don't think they're married anymore, but they did hook up at the time. So
yeah,
very, very true. And this came out around the 2000s. It was the start of the boy band era with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees. And I can remember back in the 90s when it was all just the grunge scene and the hard rock, and bands like Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Soundgarden were becoming a big thing. And also a lot of female bands were starting to become big, like Hole and Lush and L7, Elastica.
Well, and we're coming off the reign of the Spice Girls here with this as well. I don't know when Spice World came out, but it was in this same general time frame.
Yeah, like 96, 97, the whole girl vibe there. And then around like the 2000s, there seemed to be like the switch, and everyone was now listening to like 98 Degrees and Backstreet Boys, which at that time I thought was just like a copy of New Kids on the Block. And so when these directors were coming up with their concept of the script, they thought, hey, it does seem kind of weird that we had these up-and-coming bands that were playing like live instruments are now being replaced by this like almost like manufactured pop music. And that's where the whole idea about kids being brainwashed came into the script of this. And I thought that was an absolutely brilliant thing. But at the time, these bands were huge, and they're marketing this movie to fans of those type of bands and music. So it did go well, because for the kids who are watching this, it feels like I'm making fun of this particular brand of music that I like, and I don't get the jokes of it. But people who were not maybe in that type of music, they got more of the jokes, is what I got from that. And that's what I and a lot of my friends who watched it enjoyed about this movie very much.
The vibe I keep getting from folks here is that they would be fine with a Du Jour movie all on their own.
Oh my God! Yes, that would be a great trilogy. Thank you so much, Richard. This movie, Josie and the Pussycats, about Josie and the Pussycats. The second movie, we get to find out what really happened to Du Jour.
We need the MTV behind the music for Du Jour.
Yeah, right.
And you do it as a mockumentary.
That would be so great, Richard. I love that. And then the third movie would be like them going on a tour together. I don't know, something like that with them.
In space.
It'd be the concert movie.
Yes.
Well, Richard, you're up next for your general thoughts. I mean, I don't know how the ages of your two daughters fell during this time. Was this the type of movie that you were taking your girls to see, or what?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly when we saw it. We saw it on Saturday opening weekend. I went with my daughters, my wife. We went with our friends who had a son and a daughter about the same age as my girls. They were 13 and 15 at the time. And so they were a little bit older, and they understood immediately what was going on there. They laughed their asses off. They thought it was great. We walked out of the theater that day, and we drove. First, we walked across the street from where it was playing to the Tower Records to get the CD.
Yep.
They didn't have it. So then we drove down the street to the Best Buy. And they said, oh, I think we have that, and they had to dig it out from the back for us. They had dozens of copies, but they hadn't put them out yet because they didn't realize the movie had opened.
Oh. And that soundtrack went on to become gold. That soundtrack did better than the movie did.
Yeah. I want to dig into the soundtrack here in a bit, but yeah,
Sure.
what's your general thoughts on the film there, Richard?
The movie is incredibly funny and entertaining, and it's also really sharp. And we thought at the time that it was a hysterical satire of the music business, of the movie business, advertising, just about anything that you could think of in the contemporary pop world was being satirized in the movie. And we recognized all kinds of references. We laughed a lot at those kinds of things. The songs were, first of all, you had banging songs from Josie and the Pussycats. Those were excellent tunes. And the de jour song is to die for. It is just hysterical, and it's the way they do the video in the movie was so clever because it's so self-referential and so aware of what they're talking about, but they're keeping it on the down low anyway. It was just funny stuff. We enjoyed the heck out of it. And as a legacy, I've seen the movie probably dozens of times over the years. The kids, of course, when the DVD came out, we watched it numerous times. I got a chance last summer to see it on the big screen as a presentation down here in Austin during their summer film series, and the audience was packed. They passed out ear headbands that we all wore at the theater. It was a blast.
Oh, fun. So fun.
Yeah,
That
we
sounds
had a great
great.
time, and I still think the music is terrific.
Well, let's move on to the music then. I mean, let's stop burying the lead, because I think that is one of the highlights of this movie. I mean, first of all, I mean, not to skip my thoughts, but I mean, pretty much the other three all said my thoughts on this. I agree totally with everything they said. But yeah, I think one of the things when I first saw the movie that really just sold me on it was the soundtrack, because I think that it's, I don't know, a lot of movies where you have a band, you have a fake band, and that whether they're the center of the movie or they're a side element or whatever, I always feel like that there's not a lot of work put into actually making good songs. Like, you can think of fake bands from movies, but a lot of times they go, the songs aren't selling me that this would actually be a successful band. You know what I mean? But this is a case where I'm like, the soundtrack is amazing. I think this is one of the best soundtracks of the early 2000s, and certainly when it comes to original songs.
Todd, you have to remember too that this one had help from a lot of different musicians. I mean, they got Kenneth Babyface Edmonds to help produce it, and then he got helped from other musicians, Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne, Adam Derwitz from Counting Crows, Jane Wilden of the Go-Go's, Biff Naked, a bunch of other performers that I'm not even mentioning right now, Anna Wartont of That Dog. So all these different musicians from different elements of music or different genres of music came together to help write these songs. And they are all very good, and they take the material seriously. I mean, they're written from the perspective of these characters, and you totally buy into this. You would buy into, Josie writing the song, "You Don't See Me." And I swear to God, the opening lines of Three Small Words are probably the best in pop music. I'm a punk rock prom queen, brown paper magazine. Which is just brilliant. It's basically saying, I am your fantasy, porn star in a way, and putting that into the elements of, a somewhat kids film is just absolutely great.
There are a number of moments here where you kind of have to shake yourself and be like, this was a kid's cartoon once upon a time, because they do throw a few things into the mix that make you go, okay, all right, it's not the Smurfs.
Melody holding the sign, Honk if you love pussy. And then
I love that, just such an adult joke for it to be like in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and like the first, in the opening montage there, that's introducing the band to have that honk if you love pussy moment. Well, and again with melody and also just jumping back to the soundtrack real quick, and Three Small Words especially, I love the
how that song wasn't nominated for an Oscar, I'll never know.
Yeah,
it was
ridiculous.
amazing.
Yeah, I love the wordplay in that. How you get the countdown with the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the 4 and 2 are not numbers; they're the other homonym in there. It's just so great.
I would have picked "Pretend to Be Nice" to be the Oscar-nominated song.
Well, I was going to ask everybody what their favorite songs are in this. I'll bump it to Richard first, since he hasn't really gotten to share on the music yet.
I think "Pretend to Be Nice" is the best song on the soundtrack, but "Three Small Words" is terrific. And I like De Jour's "Backdoor Lover" immensely, as I've already said. It's just too funny. "Spin Around" is a like those three pop songs that they do as music videos in the film. I thought they were all worthy, and when you said it earlier, Todd, you don't understand how some of these songs weren't nominated for the Academy Award for Best Song. That category gets so misused in the Academy Awards. It's ridiculous. It should be a song that's an integral part of the movie, that advances the story, does something to make the characters relevant, that engages us, and all of these songs do that. The songs that usually win are theme songs, that are played under the titles at the end of the movie that nobody is paying attention to as they walk out of the theater. Look, I love Annie Lennox and The Lord of the Rings, but the theme song from Return of the King is not one of those songs that anybody remembers and thinks is an integral part of the story. That's just silliness that happens. These songs were... that's what the movie was all about. Was about a band that wanted to play their songs and not just be shilling for the music industry and Target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bubba or Vern, what were your favorite songs?
Well, I definitely probably "Three Small Words," but I really love that "Pretend to Be Nice." That music video montage of "Pretend to Be Nice" was just great. And during that sequence, they're on like a giant billboard that everyone thinks is green screen. No, that actually was a prop. They built a giant billboard to have them on there, and I thought that was great. And I love the scene transitions of that one, because the filmmakers were a big fan of Michel Gondry and his styles, and I thought that was great. I really love the fact too that what's his name, Matthew Libatique, basically finished Requiem for a Dream, and this was his next feature after that, which I think is absolutely cool. But yeah, for me, the songs "Pretend to Be Nice," "Shapeshifters," great. "You Don't Need Me." I do want to mention too about the singer of this. The actual singer, the voice, is Kay Hanley from Letters to Cleo, and she's also a very intricate part to the success of that soundtrack, and her voice is absolutely great. She came from Letters to Cleo, which is like this pop band, and having to do this style of music was really great. And she even said that song "You Don't See Me" was a different departure for her, and she wasn't quite sure she could actually sing that song, but Babyface had to be like, "No, you can actually do this," and that was a very important part of her life. But yeah, all good songs.
I gotta admit, I never tuned into the fact that it was a different singer singing. I mean, I guess in the back of my mind, I kind of thought probably it's not really Rachel Lee Cook, just because how solid it is. I mean, I don't know if Rachel Lee Cook can sing or not, but I never really thought about it that much, just because she sells it so well in the movie.
Yeah. You originally had another singer in line for her who sang really good, but this other singer sang more in a Janis Joplin type of style, and it's very kind of raspy, and almost seemed like that character smoked a bunch of cigarettes or so, and they just did not buy that. This would be the Rachel Lee Cook did not match that other singer's performance and whatnot, so they got Kay Hanley to do it too.
Well, since Vern said his favorite was "Three Small Words," I'll jump in and say that that's my favorite as well. I think it's just such a powerhouse song. I mean, I love the way that it's used in the movie to just drastically shift things. You know, we've had this introduction with Du Jour, which is great and hilarious and that. But then, you know, when they say, well, we need to find a new band, and then we just take this massive turn in terms of the style of the music and such. I mean, Three Small Words, it is a great opener song for the movie. It's a fantastic opener to the album. As part of what I love the album. The album just has such power from the beginning with that song. So that's going to be my favorite always. Bubbawheat, I don't think you got to share yours yet.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did because I was the first one to kind of go into Three Small Words, and that
I guess so. I guess you did.
Yeah, and I mentioned it, but I didn't have the lyrics. But you know, for anybody that might not be quite as familiar, but you know, the whole chorus that it took 6 whole hours and 5 long days for all your lies to come undone, and those 3 small words were way too late because you can't see that I'm the one. And I think that also works well with the unrequited relationship between Josie and Alan M too. I think that works with the story of the movie as well.
Well, that sounds like a segue if I ever heard one.
Before we make the segue, I wrote about this on a website that doesn't exist anymore, Fogue's Movie Reviews. I quoted Roger Ebert's review of the film, and I just wanted to read it back to you because this is talking about the music. Ebert wrote, "The music is pretty bad. That's surprising since Kenneth Babyface Edmonds is one of the producers and knows his way around music. Maybe it's supposed to sound like brainless teen fodder, but it's not good enough at being bad to be funny, and it stops merely at the bad stage." This is why Roger Ebert was a film critic and not a music critic.
Yeah. Man could be wrong. There were plenty of times.
I'm sorry to step on your segue, Todd.
No, that's okay. Well, I mean, you know, talking what Bubbawheat was saying there, I thought, well, let's talk about the characters because you know, one of the challenges to a movie like this is that, you know, it's pulling from another type of media. It's, you know, they were comic characters and then they were animated characters, and so there's certain things that they need to do. Certain characters that probably need to be included, even though they're not necessary. I mean, they even mention that in the movie. You know, the one character says, "I'm here because I was in the comic book." So, you know, I mean, I guess I want to get everybody's take on you know, favorite characters and maybe even favorite performances when it comes to those characters. We've heard a few things here and there. I just want to echo, I think, what I forget who was saying earlier, but you know, just in terms of the dynamic between the 3 leads, I think that all 3 of these actresses are perfectly cast in their characters. They have a great dynamic between them. You really sense the camaraderie between them. And I mean, jumping back to the music real quick, one thing I think that the film does masterfully is tells you so much about the personalities of these characters in that opening music video for Three Small Words. We know these characters by the time the song is done, and I think that's great. But I want to give you guys a chance to say who you think are the highlights here, what you think of the characters, all that.
All right.
Anybody, whoever wants to go.
I'll start here. So you got Rachel Lee Cook, all right, as Josie. She's fresh off of She's All That, was excellent in that. She was in Tom and Huck. She actually auditioned to play the Jennifer Love Hewitt role in Can't Hardly Wait, but lost out. And then she also appeared she didn't appear with Parker Posey, but she was in the movie with Parker Posey, The House of Yes, playing the younger Parker Posey in that movie. And I think that Josie is great. She's very, headstrong, definitely a leader of a band. Then you got Rosario Dawson, who was fresh off of the movie Kids, Larry Clark's Kids, and The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Those are the only 2 movies that she was known for. And the role of Val was actually offered to a bunch of other performers. Beyonce was offered it, but the directors thought Beyonce was too shy to play that role. And Lisa Left Eye Lopez from TLC was also offered that role as well. And then you have Tara Reid as Melody, and she had like a 3-picture deal with Universal Pictures, and this was her second feature of that.
She's the only one that didn't have to audition, I guess, because she was coming off of American Pie, so she was in demand, I guess.
And each of them just fit so well. Like Val is basically the more like kind of headstrong member of the group, but she also kind of feels that she doesn't belong because when they get there, all the attention is on Josie, and Alan Cummins' character seems to be trying to like push her out of the group to have the focus be more on Josie more than anything else. But she's sort of like the headstrong person. She's like, we should probably think about things a little bit more. And then Melody, as ditzy as she is kind of the heart of the group. She's the one that really pushes the band and being all happy and motivated. And I think if another actor played that, it would be annoying. And it's just the right balance where it's just very sweet and endearing. You know, the moment where she's like, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Love that stuff. Absolutely. Oh, and then she finds the mirror that says beware of the music, and she screams, and then all she does is adds like little heart and happy faces to that. Brilliant.
Great.
And then I'll get to more like, Fiona. And I forgot the name of Alan Cummins' character in this one.
Wyatt.
Wyatt. Yeah, Wyatt. Just absolutely.
White-ass Wyatt.
White-ass Wally. I would love to see a whole movie, or even just like all of their outtakes together, because they seem to have so much fun just playing those roles. And I'm not quite sure. I think later on, Parker Posey wasn't like too much of a fan of her performance or of this movie. She seemed to just kind of brush it off. But I thought she was absolutely great. And the reveal of her plans for like brainwashing was just absolutely great. The way that she explains to all the investors to be like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to brainwash all these kids, is just chef's kiss in her performance.
It's like a remake of Halloween 3.
Yeah. That's probably why I love it so much.
It's almost time, kids.
Yeah, I love I love that moment with Parker Posey where she's like, the kids will never see it coming, and neither will you. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I meant none of you guys, like the kids.
None of you all. We all heard you.
Oh.
Well,
that was close.
just to kind of fill in some background on what the Vern was talking about, I thought the three leads, who were the girls in the band, I don't want to sound like a sexist old man. They're just cute as a button, and they just come across as enthusiastic and fresh and entertaining. And like you said about Tara Reid, she's got this sense of kind of daffy innocence that she conveys on the screen really well, and they write scenes for her that do exactly that. Rosario Dawson's character and Josie's, they run into the typical kind of problem that people in a band actually face. Whose name's getting more attention? How do people get shifted to the back row? Why are you out front and not this person? That kind of stuff happens all the time in bands, and they played it really well because they are good friends, but they allow stuff to get into their heads a little bit, and then of course it gets exaggerated by all of the subliminal messages that are going on as well, the brainwashing stuff that's happening. But the characters seem real in the sense that they are archetypes that everybody can recognize, but they're also personalities. And I don't remember that we got that much personality in the cartoon characters, for sure.
Right.
So
that's quite a feat, like you say. I mean, it's based on a cartoon that's based on a comic, and yet these feel like real characters. And I mean, it's a tongue-in-cheek movie too, and still we get a bunch of characters that feel very real.
Yes.
The only character, Todd, that I did not like in this movie, and maybe people would disagree with me on this one, is the character of Alan M., played by Gabriel Mann, the so-called.
Well, he's
Riverdale.
More like the most clueless guy in Riverdale. I mean,
Yes. throwing herself at him, and she just does not know until the very end. But you gotta build up that. I thought the whole love thing just didn't really need to be there. I mean, it's fine and whatnot, but I thought the real crux of the story is this band becoming really big and famous, and like the fallout of that, because during the course of the movie, Josie's brainwashed to believe that her bandmates are trying to ruin her band, and I thought them getting back together was a better thing.
I do think the kind of the side three characters that are from the comic, from the cartoon, Alan M., Alexander, and Alexandra. I mean, I think that the filmmakers are absolutely admitting that they don't know what to do with these characters with that one line that Alexandra has, where she says, "I'm here because I'm in the comic." They try to do some stuff with them. I mean, if my memory is correct, in the animated show, Alexandra, I won't say is the villain, but she's more of an antagonist. She's kind of more against Josie and the Pussycats. I mean, there's elements of that here in the movie, but she's more actively, I think, trying to thwart them, in other versions of this. And there's a part of me that thinks they could have done something with that. They could have had, her, scheming with Alan Cumming and Parker Posey or something like that. I do agree. I think it's a case where the filmmakers really don't know what to do with these characters. At the same time, I'm a little bit in disagreement on Alan M, just because I think what is there as far as the love story is very sweet, but I think they certainly could have done more with it. They're spending a lot of time on the rise and fall of the band and the meta humor when it comes to the product placement and stuff, which we need to touch on that here in a moment. But I think clearly they kind of were like, well, we're going to put these characters in here because we've got to. They're a part of this property, but I don't think they really knew what to do with them.
Although her being there is it creates one of my absolute favorite lines of the movie. Like at the end, whenever the Agent Kelly comes in and just says, "Holy shit, there's a skunk on your head." oh, that's just your hair. That's messed up.
Well, and I guess we can be kind of glad that they didn't give her a cat, because there's like a cat character that she has in the cartoon that is, kind of like
basically a feline Muttley.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like Muttley. So yeah, they didn't try to stretch things there. So,
and to be fair, those other secondary characters, they don't use them that much, just enough to let you know that they're there. And I thought Missy Pyle did a good job as Alexandra. She had the same type of
Missy Pyle is I anytime she shows up in a movie, I'm like, okay, it's Missy Pyle,
Yeah. Although the one slight negative that I will say is I feel like that Valerie gets overshadowed by the other two, even though that ends up being like a running joke with Wyatt as well in the movie. And I love the running joke, but I also think that it kind of is true to the movie as well. Cause I love Rosario Dawson, but Val just doesn't have as strong of a personality in this movie as the other two.
Gotcha. All right. I thought she had kind of like a good, structure. I mean, she's the one that kind of like gets Josie to understand, that they've been this friend for a while, and she seems like especially there's like a comic issue series that came out more after this of Josie and the Pussycats, and Val is a much more kind of like stronger element. She's the one that gets Josie to actually go out and play these festivals and do these things, so she's much more stronger in the recent comic book, but in the context of this movie, because she feels that she's being left out of this band, and the whole dynamics of her not feeling that way, because she's feeling one way, and Josie herself wants to do everything like as a band together. Everything that happens is with the band itself. There's a great deleted sequence that's not in the movie, but they're at a record signing, and everyone is there, but Josie has her own table, and Val and Melody have their own other table, and they have their action figures, and a fan grabs a Val action figure to smash a spider that's crawling to Josie. And then him and his daughter get back to the line to see Josie again. So Josie has like this big line, and Val and Melody do not. Melody does not feel like she's being left out, but Val does, and Josie is just happy that they're all there together. So she just sees them as just doing this whole thing together and not really listening to Val. And I think that the way they get back together and become like a stronger group is absolutely great. And I wish this got more popular to see more movies. In fact, when this movie was being promoted, and I'll ask you all this right now, do you think that they should have released music videos from this band and not mention that it's a movie? Just sell the soundtrack first.
Maybe. I don't know if it would have worked, but I mean, I've always said I think that the song they could have charted a bunch of these songs. I don't think they put as much effort into it as they could have.
Yeah. All right.
They should have had him on TRL more often.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say, Given the way that it was integrated with the TRL show and Carson Daly appears in the movie, it seems strange that they didn't have more of that
Carson
kind
Daly
of thing.
and Carson Daly.
Yes, both Carson Daly's.
Well, Carson Daly was dating Tara Reid at the time. So,
Say that again?
Carson Daly was dating Tara Reid at the time this movie was made, so that movie that scene is a little meta as well. But yeah, I love that scene. I think I love that just the kind of the goofy humor, and I think that scene does a great job of just kind of pointing out just the silliness of TRL in general. I always thought it was a silly show, and I think this scene kind of recognizes that. While we're talking about, like celebrity cameos too, Eugene Levy's appearance in this movie is one of my favorite moments in the whole thing.
That's right. I'm Eugene Levy, and that's right. I'm an actor.
Well, we've kind of danced around the elephant in the room in this one, and that, of course, is the product placement, which, of course, I mean, it's not done in this movie like, say Back to the Future Part 2, where, there's just, they're clearly trying to put in as many as they can just for the bucks or whatever. It's an actual kind of a comedy beat of the movie, but I think it's
more a Wayne's. It's like it's kind of right in the middle of Wayne's World and Fight Club.
Yeah.
I can see that.
But it's like it's I mean, I think it's something though that is misunderstood about this movie sometimes. I mean, it amazes me when I read some write-ups on this, and just they don't seem to get that this is part of the whole point of things, and the fact that it does go overboard, I think is just drilling home the point all the more. I think they handle it masterfully in this movie, but I don't know. What do the rest of you think?
Well,
yeah, I think they stopped. I think they stopped just short of Wayne's World, and that I think because of that's why a lot of people miss it, because in Wayne's World it's like they have this giant wink to the camera, and this one has just a more subtle wink to the camera, and Fight Club is even more subtle, where it's there's a lot of it, but they don't draw attention to it, and it's not like blatant in every scene, where in this one it's like literally almost every scene has a massive product placement, and not just a product placement that makes sense, but they have product placement that goes out of its way to be product placement. I think the biggest example is the shower scene with Tara Reid. I mean, how many showers are going to have McDonald's logos all over it?
Yeah.
my favorite actually is, and I think this is the moment that if you don't understand how this movie is treating the product placement, and this scene goes by you and you still don't get it, then I don't know what to do. But the scene in the aquarium where they're there and it's a romantic moment, and in the aquarium itself, in the tank, is a billboard for Avion bottled water, which I think is just brilliant. I mean, it could have been any product, but the fact that they did Avion in a aquarium is perfect.
And it's in a viewing window that's in an employees only area too.
or the de jour's plain of all target symbols, which seems to make sense because they were the target of being, the destroyed by Alan Cummins' character and Fiona's and whatnot. The really cool thing about all this product placement is because a lot of people think that the filmmakers were selling out and trying to get sponsors to pay for their product being used in the movie. No, they never asked permission from any of the products used in the movie. They just decided.
I believe they asked. They had to. I imagine that they had to ask permission, but they didn't ask for compensation.
Yeah, is that okay? Yeah, they did not care if they got paid or not for that, which I think is absolutely great. I'm sure.
But I also think it's a missed opportunity because I think if they would have leaned into the product placement and either gotten money or gotten partnerships to help advertise the movie, then the movie might have done a little bit better.
There should have been Happy Meal toys, man. I mean, come on.
Oh my God! Well, I do remember the Josie and the Pussycats action figures. I do remember them being dolls for that, which I'm sure are probably worth a lot of money right now because I don't know if I can find them anywhere. But I do remember that coming out. I do remember even Josie and the Pussycats trading cards coming out when this movie was big. I remember them being on the cover of Rolling Stone at one point when they were pre-promoting this movie. I remember that stuff. I just don't really quite remember trailers of the movie being on TV or any big write-ups of it. I remember they were on Entertainment Weekly at one time, so it's the film that I knew about the advertising for this one, but it's just not something I recall seeing as I came to theaters and then it was just gone right away.
Well, the most obvious thing that illustrates what we're talking about is that there's product in the film, but it's not a tie-in. It's not connected to something that the film is promoting. The fact that Target's in the background is barely noticeable to the people in the movie, but it's noticeable to everybody else. And it's not like Target had a big display of Josie and the Pussycat items when you walked into a Target store. There's no tie-in that goes along with that. McDonald's might very well appear in the shower scene, but like you just said, there weren't Happy Meal toys that went along with it. It wasn't everybody was rushing out to get this week's little figure of Josie and the Pussycats main stars in their Happy Meal. They didn't have that kind of tie-in that was going on. And I think that's people who criticize the movie because of product placement don't understand that product placement is not just the fact that something appears in the movie. The world is full of products. It's natural to see some things. What's obvious here is how they try to emphasize how frequently a product appears, and they still are not doing the tie-in thing. I just think that points out the brilliance of the satire in this film.
Also, it does a great joke of other movies that use product placement in their features, especially now. There's been a lot of other product placement that's been used and stuff. That's why I always see a character move a Coke can a certain way to make sure the label is there. Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elfont were like, screw it, we're going to make the whole thing of product placement. We're going to basically satirize these other movies using product placement in their movies as we're kind of totally satirizing your movie, and it's absolutely brilliant. I totally agree with that, Richard.
I love that there's also moments where there's subtle product placement in there. I mean, we think about the big ones like the McDonald's in the shower and the Target on the plane and stuff, but
the cans. Well, weren't there other pop stars that had their own cans made from them? I mean, I thought there was, but maybe I'm wrong.
The cans make me think of when the Phantom Menace came out, which was just 2 years before this, how they had 50 different character cans of Pepsi for different characters from the Phantom Menace. So
sure.
that's what that made me think of. But there's a moment, and I had to stop and rewind because I was like, I never noticed that in this movie before. But right at the end, when it's the big concert thing, and we see different people watching from their homes, and there's a shot of these people sitting on the couch watching the broadcast, and on the wall behind them, they've got pictures and such on the wall like you do in your house, but there are framed pictures of product logos. There's a framed picture of Tidy Cat titty kitty litter on the wall of the house. I'm like, who has a picture of kitty litter on the wall? So it's wonderful what they do with that here. Well, we should probably start wrapping this up. We've hit a lot of stuff.
We forgot about the best product placement ever. We're at the very end when Fiona and Wiley are being arrested, and the general's like, "Don't worry about it. We found a much better way to advertise the kids."
Mr.
That's
Movie
the
Phone.
little message.
Yeah.
Most of the Pussycat is the best movie ever. Join the army. That was
Well, I forgot to mention, too, one of my favorite things of this movie, I love inside jokes, Easter eggs in there. And in the scene where Fiona is, kind of doing the plot exposition about the whole brainwashing enterprise and that, and you've got these different screens and there's these electronic things with different messages going across it. At one point, you can see one that says, "Can't hardly wait was underrated."
Yes. That was good.
But I'll give you a chance for final thoughts before we wrap this one up. I don't know, Richard, you go first.
Well, I think that this film is one of those that succeeds because of the passage of time. People suddenly, instead of thinking of it because it was marketed incorrectly as a teen film that's a piece of fluff, have recognized that it has something to say about the culture and about the way we consume products, and at the same time delivers us something entertaining and something that's memorable. I know that there are fans out there. It's not quite a cult, but it is certainly cult-like. There are a lot of fans out there who love this movie so much and would travel large distances to go to a concert to see Josie and the Pussycats. Vern, I'm looking at you.
Yo, 100%. So a few years ago, Mondo released a vinyl of the Josie and the Pussycat soundtrack, and it is absolutely glorious. It is so great to listen to. I hoping that with this film becoming a cult success as it is, that we can almost get maybe a reunion movie of these girls maybe getting back together to perform a concert. I would absolutely love that. Kay Hanley actually played at the premiere of the soundtrack. They did a whole 10-year anniversary of this, and I thought that would be great. The film is brilliant, and it's satirizing the music industry and about sponsorships as well. But at the heart of it, it's just a fun movie about these three girls who have a rock band, and they have really great songs. And you can watch it just from that element. I mean, you can watch it for all the satire, the things they're doing, but the whole structure of the film is just being these three girls, and they have great chemistry. It's fun to just watch it for that. And I can just watch this movie and just play the songs, because the songs, as everyone said here before, are simply bangers and a lot of fun stuff. So, yeah, 5 stars. I watch the movie every year. It's just fun to put on. I hope this movie actually gets more theatrical screenings. I'm freaking jealous of you, Richard, to see this movie in a big theater with a bunch of fans wearing cat ears. That would just be an absolutely wonderful experience to see. So, yeah, great stuff.
All right, cool. Bubbawheat, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I love this movie. It's so fun. And, we kind of bounced on a little bit of the meta elements, but there's so many great meta jokes in here, and some more subtle jokes. And again, playing to the not knowing who the audience was marketed for, but even jumping back to the beginning, whenever Wyatt goes up to the pilot, and all he says is "take the Chevy to the levee," and that's something that that one line has a lot of weight to carry, and you have to know a lot of background information.
It's a very dark line.
It's dark, but it's also very subtle. It's you have to know that's a reference to American Pie, and that American Pie is a reference to, was written for the day the music died, about the big plane crash, and you have to know all that to really get the joke. And again, marketing towards preteen girls, none of that audience is going to understand that reference. And then going into the whole bit where he's like, where am I going to find a band in the middle of Riverdale? And then he stops the car, and then you have that fantastic moment where they're pulling down the du jour sign and they have the #1 band of the world right behind them, and he takes the the paper out of the CD cover and holds it up in front of them, and then he stops and then he looks to camera.
All played beautifully to Meatloaf song that Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. It was great. Great action.
There's just so much in this, and like you touched on, like with the whole subliminal, we found that subliminal marketing works better in movies. So many just great moments like that.
I actually think that there's a whole nother angle to this movie that could be explored. Were they to update it? Were they to do a new version now? With all these things that we didn't have 23 years ago, when it comes to things like, social media and everybody having a phone in their pocket all the times and stuff like that. I mean, the idea of how they manipulate us and tell us what we will like and all that kind of stuff, I think could be taken to new lengths with all those things in mind.
I think that would be great. But I still want to have like this the original Pussycats in a sequel, and that would be kind of a good battle of the bands between the new and the old ways of doing band promotion type of thing. So I think there's elements to have like a really great sequel in this if Tara Reid, Rachel Lee Clark, and Rosario Dawson are in for it.
It sounds like everybody on the show's up for both a direct sequel and a reboot. Let's go for that.
Yeah.
A reboot.
A reboot. Ooh, I like that. Reboot. Great word there, Bubbawheat. Love it.
Very cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I will let Richard take it from here.
Well, it's cool if you like it. It's okay if you don't. Just decide for yourselves. We're going to take a brief break here to hear from a fellow Lamb Podcasting Network show, and then we'll be back with our exit question of the week.
You are about to witness history in the making.
Hi there, this is Todd from Forgotten Films, and if you spend all your time watching new releases, then you need to broaden your movie horizons. And a great way to do that is by joining me for the Forgotten Filmcast. We don't talk about the new releases, we don't even talk about the classics. We talk about the movies that time forgot. On each episode, I'm joined by another film blogger to discuss a film that may or may not be worth rediscovering. So look for the Forgotten Filmcast on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts.
Welcome back, and before we get to our exit question, we actually have a game that was brought forward by our host for today. So Todd, tell us what the game is and how to play, because we're all ready to go.
All right, cool. Well, and I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to handle this. You guys might have thoughts, but of course, Josie and the Pussycats, when you look up online movies about fake bands, they often come up, even though this was, not a hit in its time. So it got me thinking about other fake bands in movies. So the premise of this game is that I will give you the name of the band, and you have to tell me what movie it's from. They're all fake bands or fake musical artists, shall we say. Some are individuals. I've got quite a few of them, but I think we'll go very fast because it's just, it's not like I'm asking a long question. It's just a band name.
I think if you've got quite a few, that maybe it's easier to just do the Jeopardy thing. We'll ring in with our names.
We'll buzz in with our names.
Okay. Let's do it that way then. Okay.
So you're going to tell the name of a band, and we have to say if it's fake or not?
No, we got to say what movie it's from.
What movie it's from. So these are bands, fake bands or fake, singers from movies. Okay?
Oh, God, I'm going to fail this miserably. Okay, but I'm ready.
I should get to where I can keep score here. Give me just a second. I'll write down your names. Okay. So, first up, and I typed all these out, and then I put them in a randomizer, so I put my list in random order. So, first one is Crucial Taunt.
Bubbawheat.
Bubba.
Wayne's World.
That is Wayne's World, yes. That is Cassandra's band from Wayne's World. Okay. Next up, The Ain't Rights. Some of these are challenging, I will say.
Yeah.
That one
ain't right.
Know.
That ain't right.
3, 2, 1. So that is from a horror movie. That's from Green Room.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No,
All right. Next one, Strange Fruit. Richard.
Still Crazy.
That is from Still Crazy. Correct.
Never saw it.
All right. Next one here, The Pinheads. Nobody knows The Pinheads.
No.
Sounds familiar, but I can't pull it.
1. Well, the lead guitarist of the Pinheads is one Marty McFly. That is from Back to the Future.
Wow.
Shameful.
Wow.
Shame on us. Back to the Future, by the way, is the TCM Film Festival premiere movie, opening night.
Fun.
Oh, very cool.
It's the 35th anniversary?
Yeah.
Next year? Yeah.
Yep. No, next year's the 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary.
1985.
That's
yeah.
it.
Jeez.
All right. Next up, Cherry Bomb.
Oh, Vern.
Vern.
Howard the Duck.
Yes, I knew Vern would get that. Howard the Duck. Okay, next up, Rex Manning.
Vern.
Vern. I heard
Empire
Vern
Records.
first. Empire Records, correct. Okay, next one, Pop.
Richard. Music and lyrics.
Music and lyrics. That is Hugh Grant's band from Music and Lyrics. All right, very good.
All right.
Next up, Citizen Dick.
Oh, I know this.
God damn it. I feel like it's on the tip of my... Oh, gosh.
Richard.
90s. Think 90s. Richard.
I don't think this is... Is it Drop Dead Gorgeous?
No, it
Okay.
is not Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh,
Vern or Bubbawheat?
yeah, I'm just... I'm going to hear
I don't got it.
I'm sorry, was that a no?
No, I don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is from Cameron Crowe's film Singles,
Oh, okay.
which had Eddie Vedder as one of the members of that group in there. All right. Next one, Marvin Berry and the Starlighters.
Vern. Oh.
Richard.
That's Back to the Future.
That is also Back to the Future, yes. Okay. Next one, Sex Bomb.
Richard.
Bubbawheat.
Richard.
That's Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Correct. That is Scott Pilgrim's band. All right. Next one, The Sorrells.
Richard. That's Streets of Fire.
That is Streets of Fire.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, it's so good.
The band that has Robert Townsend and Bubba from Forrest Gump in
And
it.
the other Agent Johnson.
The other Agent Johnson. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Lady Raven.
Vern. Trap.
That is from Trap from this year. Yes. Okay. Next one, Infant Sorrow.
Richard.
Is
that Get Him to the Greek?
I will allow it. It's technically first in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but yes, those two films are connected, so I will allow that. Okay. Next one, The Carrie Nations.
Oh, my God.
Vern.
Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
That is correct. Okay. The Soggy Bottom Boys.
Richard.
Bubbawheat.
Oh.
Richard.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? That
That is correct. Okay. Steel Dragon.
Richard.
Is
that Rockstar?
That is Rockstar. Richard knows his fake bands here, I guess. Okay, next up, Ellen Aim and the Attackers. Richard.
That's Streets of Fire again.
That is also
Oh, it is?
Streets of
Okay.
Fire. Yep. The Hong Kong Cavaliers.
Richard.
Damn.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
of
knew
course.
Richard would say that one.
Yep. Nice.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I just hit a fat vein here.
He did. Okay, the next one. Sky Riley.
Yeah, Vern.
Vern.
Which one? I guess your Smile 2?
Smile 2. That's out in theaters now, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, nice.
Okay, the next one is Four Town. That's the number 4 and asterisk and town.
Bubbawheat.
Town. Bubbawheat.
That's Turning Red.
Correct. That's Turning Red. Okay, next up. Otis Day and the Knights.
Richard.
That's
Animal House.
That is Animal House. Can we dance with your dates?
A little bit softer now. A little bit softer now.
Next one. The Wonders.
Richard.
Bubbawheat.
I heard Vern first.
That Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do, yes. Okay. Autobahn.
Oh, Vern. The Big Lebowski.
That is The Big Lebowski.
Oh, very good.
Next up, Connor for Real.
Oh, gosh.
Connor, the number 4, Real. Connor for Real.
Gosh, I'm going to hate myself right now because I'm just picturing in my head right now, but I can't think of the... Oh, my gosh. No, I...
3, 2,
Oh, my gosh. I hate this so much.
1. Oh, I thought that would be a gimme. That is from Pop Star. Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Oh, my God. Oh, great.
Okay, next one. The New Main Street Singers.
Richard.
Oh,
A Mighty Wind.
Correct. All right, next up. Wild Stallions.
Richard.
Vern.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes. I feel like giving a bonus point to anybody that can correctly spell Wild Stallions.
Oh.
There are 2 Y's, right?
Wow.
It's like
Stay.
Oh, it sounded like Bubbawheat was going to
YLINS.
try. No, that's not. Yeah, no. Do you know? Does anybody else know?
No.
Is that just STALLYONS?
No, that's not correct either. It's
LIANS.
No, WYLDSTALLYNS. Wild Stallions.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
All right, next one. Sonic Death Monkey.
Oh,
That sounds so
Vern.
familiar.
Vern.
High Fidelity.
That is High Fidelity. I could have also used Barry Jive and the Uptown 5 or Kathleen Turner Overdrive because they're all the same band. But okay, next up, The Weird Sisters.
Richard.
That's
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
You got the right one. Well done.
Wow. All right.
Okay, Venus in Furs. It's a bit more obscure. Yeah.
Venus and Furs. Oh, Vern. I'll just hear Vern.
Vern.
Velvet Goldmine?
That is correct. Well
wow.
done.
Really? Oh, shit.
Okay, next one. Stillwater.
Richard.
Bubbawheat.
Bubbawheat.
That is Almost Famous.
Correct. Okay, next one. The Lone Rangers.
Bubbawheat.
Vern.
Bubbawheat.
Airheads.
Correct. All right, the next one. The Clash at Demon Head.
Bubbawheat.
Vern.
Bubbawheat.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yep.
That's another one from Scott Pilgrim. Yes. Bubbawheat's having a surge here. Okay, next one. Powerline.
Bubbawheat.
Bubbawheat.
A Goofy movie.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Oh, my God.
Another cartoon band.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. Love Burger.
Bubbawheat.
Yes.
God.
Bubbawheat.
I haven't seen the movie, but is it from Good Burger?
It is not from Good Burger. No.
Oh.
Anyone else? 3,
No.
2, 1.
No clue.
So here's the thing, guys. Several of the members of Love Burger are also the members of Du Jour. This is from Can't Hardly Wait.
Oh my god. I love it. Forgot that was the name of their band.
Okay. Just a few more to go here. The Barden Bells. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. The Barden Bellas is what it is.
Bubbawheat.
Bubbawheat.
Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect. Okay. B Rabbit.
No idea.
I will tell you, it's not a group. This is a single person. B Rabbit.
Oh, Vern.
Vern.
Okay, guess here. Is it Malibu's Most Wanted?
No, it is not Malibu's Most Wanted.
Oh, wait. Bubbawheat.
Bubbawheat.
Didn't he become a DJ in Hop?
Nope, this is not Hop. I like that guess, though. But
Yeah.
Take a shot, yeah.
Richard, you got an idea?
I got
Oh,
nothing.
now I know it now. I'm too late.
Oh, Vern knows it now. He won't get a point, but what is it?
Is it the 8 Mile?
It's 8 Mile. That's Eminem in 8 Mile. Okay, next one. Loaded Diaper.
That's a show I don't need to see.
Loaded is spelled L-O-D-E-D, by the way, and diaper is D-I-P-E-R. Loaded Diaper. 3, 2, 1. So I would have accepted any of the films from the series. This is from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series of movies. All right, next one.
Any of them.
3 more to go. Pink Slip.
Oh, I'll take a guess here. Vern.
Vern.
Serial Mom?
It is not from Serial Mom. I'll give you a hint. It's a Disney movie.
Oh, now I know what it is now.
2, 1. What is it, Vern?
Is it Freaky Friday?
It's Freaky Friday. Lindsay Lohan's band in Freaky Friday.
Okay.
All right. The Folksmen.
Richard.
Bubbawheat.
Richard.
Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Bubbawheat.
Bubbawheat.
Isn't that also from A Mighty Wind?
It's A Mighty Wind, yes. It's the same 3 guys as Spinal Tap. And they used to, my understanding is back in the 80s when Spinal Tap was first, becoming a thing, they would open the show as the Folksmen, as the opening act, and then they would change it to Spinal Tap later. All right, and then the last one, Sexual Chocolate.
No. Well, I'll take a guess here, Vern.
Vern.
The Ladies' Man? I don't.
Nope, not the Ladies' Man.
Okay.
The lead singer of Sexual Chocolate is Randy Watson. I don't know if that helps you at all. He says, "Give it up for my band, Sexual Chocolate."
Oh gosh, no. No. I know. I would just say that now I know what it is now, so I wouldn't have point, but I.
Richard or Bubba, you have a chance.
No clue.
I don't know. It sounds familiar.
I've heard it, but I can't remember.
Not pulling it.
What was it, Vern?
Is it old school?
No, it's not old school. Nope.
Isn't that
Coming to America?
Oh shit. Okay, I'm thinking about something completely different now. Okay.
So, by my math here, we have Bubbawheat with 8, Vern with 10, but Richard had 14.
Ooh.
So Richard knows fake bands better than any of us.
Victory. All right. Well,
hold on.
Thank you for putting that game together, and I'm glad it worked out as well as it did. It was a lot of fun. We come to the close of the show where we deal with the exit question of the week next. And Todd, you want to remind everybody, you came up with the exit question. I thought it was a really good one.
So the exit question is there another classic animated TV series that you would like to see get the live action treatment like Josie and the Pussycats did? Whoever wants to go first, I don't care.
I'm always willing to jump in first so we can break the ice on that. And I don't know if you'd refer to it as a classic TV series. It's pretty obvious what one I would be thinking of, and that's Archer, which I think would be a great live-action movie with the one problem that I'm not sure you could get H. John Benjamin to be Archer, and you need his voice for the movie to work.
Just have him dub it.
If we get John Hamm dubbed by H. John Benjamin, that would probably work.
There you go. Sounds good. Well,
all right.
Yeah, go ahead, Vern.
I'll go next here because I'm just going through stuff. The series I want to turn into a movie, and it already became a movie, but I want them to do it right. I want them to do a live-action adaptation of Aeon Flux, but actually do it right like the series was. The movie with Charlize Theron, I don't know if that counts or not. I mean, I know it was already a movie already. My other second choice would be The Max.
Oh, yeah.
Which was an animated show on MTV. I think The Max would be a really good live-action show if done right.
Sounds good. All right.
I agree. I love The Max. I'm surprised that should have been my guess or my pick, but my actual pick, I'm sticking with the Hanna-Barbera theme, and I'm going with Wacky Racers. I think you can do it like kind of in the style of Speed Racer, but not quite that far, and maybe a slightly lower budgets, and just have it be silly and over the top. And I think it could be a lot of fun seeing that in live action, that kind of like a sillier Death Race 2000.
Have you seen those magnificent men in their? What's?
Yeah,
there's
you're
a Tony,
thinking of.
I'm not the flying machines. It's the other one. Those
Daring Young Men in their jaunty jalopies.
Yeah, that's
I think
it.
Is the title of it. Yeah.
No, I haven't heard of that movie.
It's Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are in there.
That's The Great Race. That's a different movie.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah.
But same kind of thing,
I love The Great Race, yeah.
It's like Dick Dastardly is based on...
Professor Fate, yeah. So, well, I'm glad that Bubbawheat said Wacky Races, because that means I can say something else, because I love Wacky Races, and that is always my pick for this type of question as well. In fact, there's proof that it would work, because there is a fantastic, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Richard, you can pull it for the YouTube version. There's a fantastic, I think, German car commercial that did live action versions of the Wacky Races characters, and it's amazing. But since that was said already, I will say Johnny Quest. I have always thought Johnny Quest would be great as a live action film. 2 decades ago, I had that in my mind, and I had it. I had the 2 adult roles cast, because the kids, I figured those would be unknown, but I was like, for Race Banyan, it had to be Bruce Willis, and for Dr. Quest, I was like, John Cusack could totally be Dr. Benton Quest. I think we've got to move on to other folks now, especially since Bruce Willis is no longer acting, but I still think you could do a great Johnny Quest live action movie.
Did Richard do his?
Yes, I started.
Okay, sorry. Well, there's one other band show that I would love to get turned into a better movie, and that would be Gem and the Holograms.
I haven't watched that movie yet. Didn't Blumhouse do that movie? I think I read
They
that.
did.
Yes.
It's nothing like the show.
And I saw that movie in theaters.
Oh, you're a brave man.
Well, I mean, my daughter was in the the perfect age bracket when it came out.
Sure. Did she like it?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I've heard of that mess, but we're not going to be covering it unless somebody puts it up for Movie of the Month and it gets enough votes.
Just do all girl band movies here, Gem and the Holograms. You can do Spice World. Yeah.
Oh my God, Spice World. That's another future Movie of the Month, Spice World.
Well, it's not going to be the December Movie of the Month, because that's supposed to be a Christmas-themed movie. And by the way, anybody who's listening, I would happily take submissions for the December Movie of the Month for our next Movie of the Month episode. So if you've got an idea out there, please submit it and let me know what you'd like to talk about. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining the show this week. I want to express my appreciation to you all for not only seeing Josie and the Pussycats, but praising it to the hilt, because I think it deserves that. I want to give you a chance to share with our audience anything that you think they would like to see or listen to that you have to to get in front of them. So, Bubbawheat, have you got something that you would like to promote this week?
Sure, yeah. My podcast, It's Time to Rewind, is where I break down time loops one loop at a time. I am right in the early stages of my 6th season, where I am tackling British sci-fi TV and specifically focusing on Doctor Who and Red Dwarf, where I'm kind of sampling both of those series. I'm doing one episode from each series of Red Dwarf, and I'm doing one episode or serial from each Doctor of Doctor Who. And then once I get to the end of that, I will be tackling the Jodie Whittaker Eve of the Daleks, which is like a true Groundhog Day style time loop. I'll be doing that in 9 parts, and then I will be finishing up the series with a few other mostly Doctor Who spin-offs. Like there's a Canine and Australian British spin-off series, which is not very good, but they had a time loop episode. There's also Sapphire and Steel, which I believe that has a couple time loop episodes, which is not Doctor Who related, but and also the Sarah Jane Adventures has a time loop episode, and I believe there's a series called The Lazarus Project, which I haven't watched it, but it seems like the entire premise of the series is based around some sort of time loop. So once I get my hands on that and see what that's about, I'll figure out how I'll be adding that to the end of the season as well. So that's a lot of fun. And if you enjoy music, I also have another podcast, Lyrical Innuendo, where every episode Nick Rehak and I discuss a song and dive into the lyrics and really pick them apart and see what's the lyrics are actually saying and what they're not saying. And sometimes, we go a little wild with our theories of what they're saying without saying. And we often come to the conclusion whether or not they're actually talking about something sexual, or if they're talking about drugs, or if they're talking about anything else. And both shows are a lot of fun.
All right, let's take a quantum leap then over to Vern and find out what he's got going.
Well, over at Cinema Recall, we are taking a month-long hiatus from the show. We'll be back in December with new stuff. In the meantime, please check out the all-new audio drama adaptation of Reservoir Dogs with an all-female cast. That was a lot of fun to put together, and I hope everyone here checks it out. That was fun to do. Please check out the new podcast that I'm hosting with Jason Soto over at Rabbit Hole Podcast called The Rotten Truth, where Jason and I look at movies that had low tomato rating scores at Rotten Tomatoes and decides, is this movie as bad as everyone says it is? Our next movie coming up is on Howard the Duck. Very excited to be talking about that movie. But we did episodes before on Madam Web and Freddy vs. Jason. You can find that all at rabbitholepodcast.com. And that's it for me right now.
Good deal. Todd, how about you? What's going on at the Forgotten Filmcast?
Well, we're taking a few weeks off right now, but there's plenty of recent episodes to check out. Some of the most recent ones, we did the 90s post-apocalyptic film Circuitry Man. We talked about The Trigger Effect a few weeks ago with Kyle MacLachlan and Elizabeth Shue. And then the most recent episode that posted last week, I was joined by David Brooke, who, if you listen to this show, loves all things martial arts. We talked about a Shaw Brothers martial arts movie, Kid from Kwang Tung, which is a movie that has everything from martial arts to hopping zombies to people in chicken outfits. It's kind of a wild ride. So.
And Todd, is the Trigger? Oh, sorry. I was to ask you, is the Trigger Effect that same movie that was made by David Koepp?
That is David Koepp. Yes, it was his directorial debut.
I do remember that. Good one.
On my side, I don't have anything particularly new or unusual, just reviews of recent films that I've seen. There's a review up of Juror Number 2, which I did manage to see after driving a long distance to be able to do so. I'm going to have reviews up later this week for 2 films I saw yesterday, The Wild Robot and Venom, The Last Dance, which is stupid as all hell, but it was very entertaining, very entertaining. So, there's always some reason to do something stupid like that, and laughing at Tom Hardy talking to himself, I guess, is the best justification I could come up with that.
The Wild Robot,
I almost
though,
want a version of that movie that did not have Venom in there. Like, just Tom Hardy just talking to himself without the CGI. That would be just hysterical.
Wild Robot was excellent.
It is. Nice. It's my favorite animated film of the year so far.
All right, everybody, get out your bus pass, figure out which one of you is a rock star, and remember, I'm going to be doing all your subliminal tracks in the future. Josie and the Pussycats movie of the month is the best movie ever. Join the Army. Until next time. Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.
It's over!